What's going on, ladies and gents? Your boy Gama back with the lovely
Juju.
Today we're going to be talking about YouTube couples.
That's right.
Are they doomed to fail? That and much more. Let's escape
the Matrix.
All right, guys. So we're going to hop right into this, man. There are plenty of YouTube couples out there. Much more than we can even keep up with.
That's true.
Depending on who you watch or follow, you probably have your favorites. Some of them are prank channels.
Right.
Some of them are just like daily vlog channels,
right.
day in the life. Some are just over the top, like they just show like an extravagant type of life or lifestyle rather. But the point we're going to be talking about today is, why does it appear that many of them don't last?
I know.
So many reasons, right? Well, let's first show some of the couples that we're talking about. You may have heard of these couples. We're just going to kind of show a few pictures on the screen. So as you can see, these couples range from like different age groups, ethnicities, even different parts of the world.
Right.
So really we have to try to deep dive and find out what is the commonality, if there is. What usually leads to their demise. Now, if you ask me,
right,
I think it's three main factors, right?
What's that?
Non-negotiables. A lot of times people ignore that. We all have non-negotiables. It doesn't have to be anything extreme, but there's something about us that we are just, or should be, unwilling to negotiate.
Yeah.
Like you may not want to date someone who's racist.
What? Right.
Obviously, but maybe, you fall in love or you fall for someone and you ignore some of the hate, the prejudice, the things they show towards other groups that's not your group. Or that's not you. If it's, if you guys are the same race, you may not pay attention to how you're treating other people. Or if you're a different race, you may feel like, well, they don't talk about my people. So my point is, those are just some of the non-negotiables that often people don't find out until it's too late. That brings me to the next point, spirituality.
Right.
I just touched on non-negotiables, but spirituality should be a segment or section in its own. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you don't go to church, even if you don't subscribe to a religion, we all have some sort of spirituality. And I mean, even if you're atheist, you have to know that, yes, beyond the physical, maybe it's just the way you think. You may look at the universe as a source of power that's beyond what we normally can do, etc. My point is that matters as well, right? Okay. How do you view spirituality? All of those things are like deeper concepts and parts of who we really are or will become eventually.
Right.
And the last one, Juju, probably just as important, if not the biggest contributing factor to dating is what?
I would say the 5 love languages, right?
Love languages. Yes. If you have not heard of it, please, after watching this video, do your research. Yeah. This is major. Talk. So we're going to hop right into it, man. So like I said, we already showed some of the couples that you may have heard of or may have not. And then I'm sure there's some you may be thinking of that we didn't mention, right?
Right.
And it seems like on the surface, most people say, once you get on television, once you get on YouTube, once you put your relationship out there for the public, it's not going to work.
All hands are off, right?
Right. Yeah. But that's a very generic kind of belief. It's a very generic way of looking at things. And we don't do that here at Escape the Matrix.
No.
We don't like to stick to the surface. We like to find out what's going on.
Deep.
Just because you turn on cameras, you don't grow out of love or you don't grow to hate each other. It must be something deeper, right?
That's true.
I'll start off by touching on the love language. Let's touch on that.
Okay.
So there are 5 love languages. Do you know what they are, Juju? Put you on the spot.
Put me all in the spotlight.
I know you know your love language, but what are the 5 love languages?
Okay. I know it's physical touch or affection is one.
Okay.
Right. Quality time.
Yes.
Words of affirmation. Receiving gifts.
Yeah.
Right.
That's 4.
And that 5th one is acts of service.
Acts of service.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Leave a comment below if you heard of the love languages. and let us know what is your love language. You know, it's very important to know what yours is.
Yeah.
But let's touch. You know, we're gonna touch on that for a little bit.
Okay.
We all have love languages, by the way. You know, this is not just some wacky concept. This is a deeper part of who we are as humans, right? Psychology. We all have a love language. Out of the 5, right?
Okay.
You may say, you know what? I like all of them.
Yeah.
However, there's going to be at least one to two that stands out more than the others. So even if you're a very grateful person and you reason that, look, as long as I like the person, they can't do any wrong as long as they treat me right.
Right.
There's going to be 1 to 2 that stands out more than anything. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Physical touch. Let's say that's your love language, right? So you're a very affectionate person. That means you love and you want to receive affection. So now you're matched with someone who's great at acts of service. You know, this is a person that always come through no matter what. If you need them to fix a flat, they're there. They'll help you fix something that's broken. You can count on them. If you're in need of anything, they're the first person there.
Okay.
And this is your partner. However, they are not affectionate. They don't hold your hand. They don't put their arm around you. They don't touch you, really, unless you have to prompt them to do so.
That could be a problem.
You see? Eventually, that's going to create a void within you.
Yeah.
So even if they're not a bad person in general,
right.
even if they're doing good things, if they're not speaking your love language, ultimately you're going to feel some sort of emptiness, and you may not know why.
And that's a void.
That's why it's important to know these things, because a lot of relationships, when they go down the drain,
right,
couples will often say, we were just happily in love and bliss, and then it just, I don't know what happened. And that's the truth. They really don't know what happened. Yeah. But it's never overnight. It's never just you wake up one day and you hate each other.
Right.
It's usually those things that are ignored that you really needed and desired, but you may not be aware of. And that's why love languages is so important.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of share our love language.
Yeah.
And a little deeper than that, we're going to talk about maybe why it is our love language.
Yes.
Because it varies from person to person. Your experiences, your background, the things you went through, and the things you desire, all of that shapes you and helps you and can help you determine what your love language is. So, Juju, why don't you start by sharing what your love language is and why?
Okay. Ready to take notes? For me, let me think for a moment. I know you said typically it's like about 2. I mean, overall, all 5 are really great. But for me, I would say words of affirmation.
All right.
Quality time. And physical touch, affection. All right. Those are like my top 3.
Yeah.
Now, out of those top 3, I would say quality time.
All right.
Number 1. And words of affirmation for me, and then comes in third place physical touch. I don't know, it kind of, they're very neck and neck.
No, and that's true. Like, you can have 3 that are very strongly closely connected to each other, right, where it's hard for you to put one above the other, right? But nevertheless, there's still going to be something that are more dominant than the others. You know what I mean? Right. It's 5 of them, so it could be even more than 2 that you really desire. And it's called love language for a reason. If you speak someone's love language, it's very easy to make them feel loved. You see what I'm saying? And that's the difference. It's not what you do, it's what's done for you. That's what love language is. So, for example, let's say my love language is gifts of service. I mean, not, is it gifts of service?
Acts of service.
Acts of service, right? So if that's my love language, I can be paired off with someone whose love language is physical touch. And often people do what they like and they ignore what the other person like. So just because I may enjoy or expect or desire acts of service, my partner might be a physical touch person. They might just be a very affectionate person. So I'm buying them gifts and I'm taking care of business physically. I mean, financially, I'm handling business. And in my mind, I'm like, man, this girl does not appreciate me. When in reality, it's just that she doesn't feel loved. And it's not anything to her fault. It's not like she's ungrateful.
Right.
She may say thank you and appreciate everything I'm doing. I'm just not doing the specific thing that makes her feel loved. If that makes sense. You know, it's very important to note that. So going back to what we were saying with you,
right?
Why do you think your love languages are that?
Man, I was thinking about this, right? Not too long ago. For me, okay, when it comes to words of affirmation, I'll start there. Growing up, to be frank, I didn't really receive much of that. Like from my parents, from my mom and dad, it was, growing up in a, Caribbean household. I'm Trinidadian. It was more of like, do this, do that, don't do this,
Oh yeah.
So, just more so like just setting out the expectations from us
Oh
kids.
yeah, man, strict.
And if we
Guan. Actually, that's not Trini. No. Shout out to my Jamaicans though.
But
my massive. What am I talking about?
I don't know. But like if I fall short, or if my siblings, we fall short of those expectations, it's like you're gonna hear it. You're like, oh, you're supposed to do this. So for like growing up and moving out of the house after I got married, with you, I realized over the years, like words of affirmation, I realized how much that means to me. Like it really means a lot. Not just hearing like what I'm not doing, right? So words of affirmation for sure. And I feel like that need is a result of what I lacked growing up.
Yeah.
So that's with words of affirmation. When it comes to quality time, I would say similar reasons. Like my mom and dad were very hardworking individuals, like since we were young, right? Holding down 1, 2, sometimes 3 jobs, right? To support the family. And it wasn't much like real like family time, you know what I mean? So again, through the years, I really appreciate quality time. Like I want to have quality time, especially having a family of my own, right? And affection, that has always been there, just wanting to feel loved, or like, how would you describe that? Just wanting to feel something, right?
Well, it speaks to the senses, one of the senses. So physical touch, especially if it's from someone you want. It does make you feel wanted. You know what I mean? Like a massage, a rub. It doesn't have to be anything of any sexual nature or anything graphic. It can just be a hug.
Holding hands.
When you're feeling down, you know what I mean?
Caressing,
those
massages.
things hold weight.
Right. Well, what about you? Like, first of all, what are your top love languages?
Out of the 5, the main ones that stick out for me are acts of service and quality time. Absolutely. As far as the reasons, acts of service, it's just the thoughtfulness. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be hard to keep doing something for someone that you really don't care about. You know what I mean? You'll eventually start making excuses. You'll be too tired, too busy, etc. So the way that I reason, is that when someone is able to consistently do acts of service, that they have to care about you, right? You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be, using their time, energy, and their effort consistently and investing in something or someone they don't care for. That's the way I receive it. So acts of service, I'm very grateful for people who are willing, ready, and able to help out in any way that they can.
But was that like shown to you growing up, like from your parents?
Yeah. You know what's funny? It can go both ways, right? It could be something that you did not get a lot of, but you always wanted. Or something you have gotten and you really value. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like loyalty. Some of the most loyal people also have people that are loyal to them.
That's
You know,
true.
sometimes you're more disloyal when you have everyone being disloyal to you.
Yeah.
So it works both ways. Sometimes you want something because you've been taught that is valuable,
Yes.
and you've been taught a good lesson in how to be that and, you know, appreciate it.
That makes sense.
Or you want something because you've been neglected, and you just naturally know you should have gotten it. You just didn't get it. So now you want it in other environments, whether it be at your workplace or your spouse or your partner, etc. So for me, acts of service, yes, I've definitely had people in my life, you know, both parents, which are still together, siblings, really good friends that basically are family. And so I can say that, you know what, I've always appreciated that. It speaks volumes, because I've also had people in my life that could not or would not give me acts of service. And it was, you know, it's all good. Sometimes they just, like I said, they were too busy, you know.
Right.
I wasn't as important to them as I might have thought, as I should have been, or we just, you know, mutually were like associates. We weren't that deep.
Yeah.
The other reason, the other thing
Quality
is
time.
quality time.
Yeah.
Now, for me, it kind of goes hand in hand with acts of service, right? Like I said, you're
Right.
investing your time,
Yes.
your energy, and your effort. So quality time speaks volumes, because the most valuable thing that we all have is time.
It is time.
It's not money. It's not materials or any of that. It's time. Yeah, time is so important and so valuable that I actually, often we talk about this, but I view money as units of time,
Yes.
which means
So true.
the more money you have,
Right.
the more time you have.
You have,
quality time, that is. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Everybody that goes to work a 9 to 5, overtime, etc., they're usually doing that to maintain something. You know, they got
Yes.
bills, they got responsibilities.
Right.
But what's bad is that they're often trading something more valuable, which is time.
Which is time.
You know, they
That's
don't have
right.
time for their kids, for their partner, for their for themselves. They
Yeah.
don't have time to enjoy the things they're keeping up.
That's true.
So that's why quality time is so key, because, you know, again, you're spending something that precious with someone else. And I'm speaking for myself. I know some people don't really care too much about that, or they have other love languages that are stronger. But to explain why that is valuable for me,
Right.
that quality, that the time, they go hand in hand. Not just, you know, being around each other, but the quality of it. Like, are we doing fun things? Are we keeping each other positively motivated? Are we keeping
Yeah.
each other grounded, excited, happy, etc.? So yes,
Right.
those are my two by far. Again, guys, leave a comment. Let us know what
Yes,
are your
please.
favorite. Not favorite, but like, let us know what
What
your
stands out the most?
what stands out
means
to
the
most.
Yeah.
And we'll actually put it in the description box, by the way, so you can click on that.
Yeah.
And we'll have the 5 listed, and let us know which ones are yours and why.
Yeah.
We'd like to know. So
Yeah.
going back to the topic at hand, right?
Right.
We just gave a nice little breakdown
Yeah.
about the love languages.
Right.
And we truly feel that a lot of these couples,
Right.
especially when they get into these whirlwind relationships, like they just meet and then like a week or two later they're moving in,
Yeah.
they're starting a channel together, they're
Yeah.
they're racing into something that just feels intense with passion. They don't know each other's love language. Often they don't even know their own.
That is so true.
So they're moving 100 miles a minute.
Yeah.
They may even have children,
Right.
buy a home, start a business. They start establishing a lot of things without knowing this. So by the time the smoke starts to clear,
Right.
they look at each other like, yo, you're not fulfilling my needs, yo. And it becomes bad, because it's hard to just tell someone that after, like, you've done all those things I listed. Like, it could have been 2, 3 years, 5 years in the making.
Right.
You have kids now. You have a home. You bought cars. You have businesses in your names. You married. So how difficult do you think it is to put yourself out there? People are seeing the good times,
Right.
you know, the high times, the peaks. And then deep down inside, you're just not happy with what you are dealing with. That's a real thing. And I think a lot of people are unprepared for that. And that's why we wanted to do this video and touch on it. Instead of just saying, oh, they're fake, they're doing it for clout.
Right.
You know, they out there chasing the bag, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's usually other things that are much deeper that were just ignored and were not seen until it was a little too late.
Little too late.
Yeah.
So do you think it's like the honeymoon phase that kind of clouds that out from the beginning? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, what is that? Like, even the honeymoon phase, like, is it just a matter of like everything is just like at its peak of bliss, like,
Right,
and then it's
right.
like they're not really, speaking.
They're not living in
obviously.
reality. You know,
Right.
I think, see, part of being a YouTube couple,
Mm-hmm.
being on camera, whether it's television, online, or just on YouTube,
Right.
you are initially putting out like your best,
Yeah.
your best foot forward all the time, right?
Right.
Yeah. So when things are great, they are wonderful.
Right.
The peak of euphoria. So
Right.
it's not that they're faking happiness. They are just like, it's like an ecstasy. They are on an extreme roller coaster. And because they're doing it, on the camera, they're showing the times they go out to eat,
Yeah.
they go out to play, they go to the beach, they go to Vegas, Miami, Dubai, etc. Everything
Right.
is like high intense happiness, right?
Right.
But it's when the crash happens. So it goes both ways. The camera and the YouTube and the online presence often make things very intense. It's like an intensifier, magnifier. So when they're good, they are great.
They're great.
But when they're bad, oh my goodness, they're bad. Because
Yeah.
again, now you have the whole world judging you,
Right.
looking at you act a fool. Whether you were crazy enough to upload something real that should have been kept private, whether it was caught on live, you couldn't delete it in time and people captured it.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like you're on a show where it's third party camera crews and production that you
Yeah.
can't tell or edit out.
No control of
Yeah, they're
editing,
like,
yeah.
nah, we're gonna put what you really said about your father, mother, or
Right,
whatever. So
right.
it becomes intense. Everything is intensified. And when those things happen, right?
Right.
You go back and you look at yourself or you look at your partner, you really start to feel different.
Yeah.
How often have we heard that statement that I lost myself. I didn't know who I was. We've all heard
right.
people say that.
Right.
And I think that's what's happening. They're moving so fast that when they finally have a moment of clarity,
Right.
they're like, who is that?
To sit still. Yeah.
Yeah, what have I become? And you hear that a lot. Like, yeah, man, I lost myself in that relationship. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know who I was. I was just grasping for anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's partially, why. Like, they're just, again, they're putting themselves out there in every way possible. So when things are bad, it's hard to like really recover. And then you visually can keep seeing those things happen over and over. Those arguments, those bad moments, the things that most of us can keep private,
Right.
know to keep private or get help privately.
Right.
They got them out there in Front Street, man.
Wow.
So you say something nasty about your wife
Yeah.
as a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Now the whole world got that. You could delete that video all you want if you're popular, especially.
Right. Someone's gonna grab that.
Yeah, it's gonna become a meme. It's gonna become a lot of things that your wife may never be able to get past.
Yeah.
And so that's that's just one aspect of it, I think.
Yeah, and I guess just overall, just people not knowing what their love language is. So it's
Right.
like they're caught up in the whole, YouTube world, like, oh, let's make money, let's do this, let's do that, let's put on our best.
Right.
And it's like, they're not really speaking to each other. Obviously, when the camera is on.
Yeah.
But behind the camera, it's like,
Right.
they have to confront themselves and their partner in real,
Yeah, yeah,
reality.
and so when it also comes to love language, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not, this is just me. This is my personal statement. So I'm not saying that it's factual.
Okay.
But I believe this to be true now. I think people tend to complain about what they want the most. And I'm being specific in relationships, right? If there's a reoccurring theme of a complaint, like your partner keeps saying something over and over, maybe once a week,
Yeah.
once a day, whatever it is, if they're complaining, that usually may be an indication of what they desire. That could be a hint to what their love language is. And I'm just
Right.
putting this out there, especially for the newer people regarding psychology or love language. If you really never heard of this or took it serious,
Right.
pay close attention. Like, yo, you never spend time with me. You always busy, man.
That's true.
You always no, let me guess,
Yeah.
you going. That could mean quality time
Yeah.
is essential, is important.
Yeah.
And you're losing that person, right?
Yeah.
Or, yo, you don't buy me anything, man. I'm not a gold digger. I just would like a gift or something that shows that I mean something. Maybe it is a gift, right? Gifts of, what is it called? Gifts of service or gifts? Acts of
Receiving gifts or acts of service and then receiving gifts.
Yeah, so maybe receiving gifts, that's their love language,
Yeah.
right? And it's not about material. It could just mean that they want you to go through the actions and emotions,
the thought,
the thought process of what is it they like, and I'm going to get it for them and surprise them.
Yeah.
So again, what people complain about the most, right?
Yeah.
You don't never touch me.
Yeah.
Affection.
Like no one helps me around this house.
Oh yeah. Nope. No, I'm just. But yeah, so what you complain about the most tends to be what your love language is. That's a little clue, man.
Yeah.
Because some people, I think they're just so uncomfortable in talking about their emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like especially men, they're like, yo, I don't need nothing. I'm good. I'm straight.
Yeah.
And even women too. In this day and age, everybody's pushed to be independent and not need nothing from nobody.
Right.
As a society, that's very dangerous. But yeah, we're always taught to be super duper independent.
Yes.
When the truth is, no man is an island. That statement is so true. We all need each other one way or another in some form or another, right?
Yes.
So if you're not able to be used, as my grandfather used to say, you're useless. So you want to be used for the right reasons, not taken advantage of, but you do want to be useful. So so going back to what we're saying with the YouTubers, right?
Right.
These are regular people, by the way, that often just get on camera, and all of a sudden, after some time, they become sensationalized.
Yeah.
But they have emotions. They have a lot of things that every other person has. And the camera can be tricky because, again, it gives the facade.
Talk about it.
That, you know what, they are great.
Yeah.
So when things don't work out, usually the fans and the people around them or the supporters, they're shocked.
Yeah.
When it's not that shocking. If you look,
I don't think. Yeah,
it's not we did a couple videos already about LaToya.
Yeah.
LaToya Forever, and then even her new boo, Vaughn.
Yeah.
But LaToya's coming out of a divorce from Adam Ali.
Yeah.
It's not shocking, man. So many people saw that coming miles and miles away.
Just a matter of
because
time.
it's kind of what we touched on. They didn't really speak each other's love language.
You could see it through the years.
Yeah, you were able to see it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, the non-negotiables.
Yeah. Yes.
There were certain things that were very clearly different about them.
Yeah.
And because they may have rushed into it, due to having the child, and then they wanted to make things right, etc., they ignored some of those non-negotiables.
What do you think, when it comes to love language, was LaToya's and Adam's individually? I could speak for LaToya. I feel like hers, what she has made clear, affection. Right? Like, oh, I want to feel love. I want to feel, right?
Right.
And nothing wrong with that. As well as
words of affirmation. Because she's like, oh, this guy tells me I'm beautiful every day.
Yes.
She needs to hear that, and that's not a jab at her.
I think those two.
Yeah, it's just a statement. Whether you're insecure or not, sometimes you just may enjoy hearing those things from your partner.
Yeah.
You look good, you smell good, you look nice. Like, I love you, I care for you, etc. Whatever the case may be. Yeah.
What about Adam? What do you think his was?
I know Adam, I can tell quality time is big. He's really family. He's like Mr. Value and quality. So him spending time, purposeful, meaningful engagements, hold a lot of weight. You know what I'm saying? And, he's African too, all of us, but really, he's from Tanzania. And I'm saying that because culturally speaking, the men, a lot of times, they're taught the value of time and quality. You pride yourself on that, not just what you do and being able to do things, but how you do it. Yeah, so, with Adam, clearly, I can see that's important. I don't really know what the others are, but for the most part, I will say that means a lot. He's not Mr. Let's just go out for the night. Let's be on the scene. Let's look good. That wasn't his style at all. He wanted. He's more like, look, we don't need to have anybody around us. Let's just vibe. Let's talk. Let's build. Like, he strikes me more as that type of guy.
Right.
As opposed to like we just go into some parade because there's mad people there and cameras are going to be on. Nah, he's not into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, again, just using Adam and LaToya as an example, we just touched on the love language aspect,
right?
The non-negotiables, the clear differences that they may have had, but then even the spiritual one. Those are the top three things that I feel like that erodes most relationships.
Yeah.
Adam having a Muslim faith and background. LaToya, again, I don't know if she's Baptist or Southern Christian or just Christian in general, but in either case, Those three differences became more and more apparent as time went on. So even with the other couples that we highlighted in this video,
Right.
I'm pretty sure eventually those things played into it. And non-negotiables, again, they can be a lot of different things. Maybe you are like into politics hardcore. You are a conservative.
Yeah.
You hate everything about the left. Everything. You hate them. Even the color blue gets you angry. So maybe it's not wise to be with someone who is incredibly liberal.
Yeah.
You know, those things matter, you know, and it's hard to say that it doesn't matter. As far as being friends, getting along, being respectful, coexisting, that's different.
Right.
You could get along with anyone because you're not going to be living with them, building a life with them, etc.
Yeah.
Right. So we're talking again about love, relationships, and even with these YouTubers, these online personalities, they ignore these things and then they try to just focus primarily on building their career, the online presence, and
agree.
they come about and they bite them in the butt.
I agree.
But
I agree. You know, quick question. Do you think love languages, like what you hold the most high, do you think it could shift through time? Like, you know, like affection is like number one, but then it drops to like number two, and then like acts of service becomes number one, like, or something like that?
Yeah. No, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And yes, absolutely. In fact, for so many reasons. First and foremost, right? I feel like, I know we are dynamic beings. You know, we're not just some kind of linear, mechanical, robotic drones. Again, this is escape the matrix here.
Right.
You know, and the matrix tries to make us feel like we all have to think alike, act alike.
So true.
No, we are very unique. So there are things that will shape us. You know, through time. You know, we get older, we get wiser, more mature, we go through things, and it can alter what is or what was important at a certain point. You know, a good example of that is your love language might be receiving gifts, you know, when you're younger, like maybe early 20s.
Yeah.
And so you're getting these gifts that you never had, these things that are making you feel excited and loved, right? But as you acquire a lot of that, it begin to lose weight. Because now you're like, you know what? At first I used to love getting earrings. I used to love getting shoes. And now I got so many of it, it almost feels mundane. Like, you know, it's redundant. I mean, it's not really, it doesn't have the same effect. So you get, you get older.
Yeah.
So your value system changes. You want things that are beyond just like the surface or whatever the case may be. Another example could be a tragic event occurs, right? You were like a model. Then you get in a car accident.
Yeah.
Now you barely can walk. Or you can't walk. But you still have your partner.
Right.
Acts of service all of a sudden.
It shoots up to number one.
Shoots up to number one.
Yeah.
So you went from like, you know, you wanted to just only have affection or certain things that weren't as important before now became insanely important.
Right.
You know, I think of Christopher Reeves, you know, back in the day, the guy that played Superman. He was married, and when he was in Hollywood acting at the peak of his career, I'm sure, you know, his wife and him had a certain dynamic that kept them happy. Once he had that tragic accident where he was paralyzed, trust me, his love language, acts of service is what made him know that woman still loved him. And that's what I mean. You know, you can lose someone. Maybe you lost a parent.
Yeah.
And your partner steps up. And those words of affirmation that never really held weight, they mean everything to you now.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you need to hear that. You're not in your right mind. You're just thinking over and over of the tragic accident or issue or incident that caused the loss of a loved one. And they're there to to console you.
Yeah.
So again, yes, it does change. And it's usually not like overnight. And it's not just, you know, for no reason, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, if it is overnight, it's usually for something incredibly dramatic. And it could be gradual. You know, you're going through a pregnancy.
Yeah.
You're just, you know, changing jobs, buying a house, etc.
Yeah.
You know, you're going through some hardships and you need like 6 to 9 months of transitional assistance, etc. Yeah. So it does change, but ultimately, the ones that stick out the most are usually rooted at the core of who you are.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It could change, you know, over time. Depending on, you know, the situations that you go through, because, you know, even having our son, Jonah, who's 5 now, for me, quality time, I feel like has really moved up to number one, and it has been staying strong at that, at that level. And even like the two others that I did not mention, like receiving gifts and acts of service. Acts of service, I definitely value more, right? Because for me, growing up, like I'm used to just doing a lot on my own, right? But now, of course, having our family grow, it's like, I could appreciate more the acts of service, right? So I feel like overall, a lot of this has, in terms of understanding it, like with your significant other, is communication. Keeping those lines of communication open, so you guys are, on the same page of knowing, what your needs are, right?
Right. And that, and to wrap things up, we're just gonna touch on this, man. People really do not like the true art of dating and courtship. It's almost gone. No one really truly does that anymore. They just get up in situations, right? Yeah. They have these little escapades, these little affairs, and then if it's like they like each other or tolerate each other long enough, right, they become a couple. You often will hear people say stuff like, "Oh, what are we? Like, are we together? Are we?" Because they're just doing things, playing it by ear, and then next you know they're in a serious situation like pregnancy. Or they're moving in together, etc. And I'm saying that because when you are dating, when you're truly, call me old school, but either way, when you're courting, right? Right. These things that we're talking about, right, they should be part of the discovery process.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying go on a date with a checkboard, and
checklist,
and just be like, that's not what I'm saying. But you should be asking, questions that will allow you to know, what is this person, what are they into? What do they value? You know what I'm saying? Like part of the dating process, after you go bowling and then you going out to dinner, after you go to the movies and whatever it is, you should go on dates that allow you to have discussions. It shouldn't just be fun, explosive, theme parks and getaways, because what that does, it creates a false sense of connection.
It does. Right. I agree.
You're having so much fun with little to no intimate engagement or communication. And you're just assuming that you feel and think the same. You see what I'm saying? Because think about it. Like who wouldn't have fun going to Dubai, riding, doing buggies in the desert, surfing, steak and lobster every night? You can do that with someone that doesn't even speak to you, and you'll have a good time.
That's true.
Seriously,
it's true.
All expense paid trip for like 3 to 5 days. The person doesn't even have to speak. They can just give you a head bob, right? And then you go out and you have the time of your life. You eat great food, you drink, you party, then you go back and do it again. Trust me, it's just about anyone can enjoy that scenario. But when you start talking, right, and you start realizing like, whoa, this is how they really feel about this, and this is, that's usually something that I think people wait way too long to figure out.
Right. No, I 100% agree. Because to be very frank, like the whole 5 love languages, I didn't know that until I met you. Right. And it's funny because you're saying like, you could have fun with, like a random person that you just connect with, right? But like absolutely, because if you recall, like, when we were dating, like, I was so big on like going to theme parks, like, oh, let's go have fun, let's go into the city, let's go to da 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 da. But it's like when things were really getting like serious, like we really had to start talking seriously on a more serious, deeper level that I've never experienced before with anyone else. Right. Again, like the whole 5 love languages, it stemmed from you. I learned about that through you. But I completely agree. Like in the beginning, for most couples, they could be distracted by just like the good times, having a great time, right? Right. And of course, you do want to have fun. You do need to enjoy yourself. Honeymoon phase is a thing. Yeah. But it should always be coupled with substance. You shouldn't. You balance it out, man. You shouldn't just be partying all day nonstop, because once things settle, you may be scared to find out who you really wound up with. And that's the whole point of this video, man. These YouTube couples, they're still human beings. Don't fall for the antics, the things that they present, the persona, etc. They're normal people for the most part. They are.
what tends to happen is, yes, as their career takes off, the popularity, the money, etc., they get lost, right? Yeah. So now they almost start to believe in their own persona.
Yes.
And that can be the, the beginning of their demise, right? Because you still, no matter who you are, how much money you have, what religion, what race, what political stance you take, all of us, we have needs.
Yes.
We have wants, we have desires. If you are with someone who is not able, ready, or willing to fulfill them, you will not feel the way you should.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, man.
That's it.
Want to end it on that note? Juju, any last words?
Nah, that's it. Just communication.
That's it, man. So check out, again, check out the love languages. We'll have them listed.
Yeah.
Leave a comment below.
Let us know.
Let us know what you think on what we discussed. Tell us what your love language is.
Yes.
And why, if you care to share. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that good YouTube stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you.
And as always,
Escape the Matrix.